Hello and welcome to the Common Colt Podcast, a Colts podcast made by Colts fans who tell it how it is. I'm Josh Hudgens, typically joined by Dan Hertzler, who's out today. But hey, big news kind of circling around the NFL right now is Derek Carr has been benched. And as Colts fans, we know what it's like to see quarterbacks benched. We know what it's like to have head coaches who aren't doing so hot, and watching Josh McDaniels struggle. Maybe it's wrong of me, but it kind of makes me feel good. Like, hey, okay, at least Josh McDaniels isn't like a beast head coach or something. But besides that, I go on Twitter and I see immediately Derek Carr to the Colts. And I see these tweets and these experts and some fans saying, hey, the Colts they got an elite defense. They've got Jonathan Taylor. Shaquille Leonard would be coming back. Maybe they could get a playmaking receiver, maybe add a veteran or two to that offensive line, and all of a sudden the Colts could be championship contenders. That's what they're saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, and you know what? I'll use one word because that's what we do on the Common Colt Podcast, a one-word reaction. That's a one-word reaction. And that's insanity. That's doing the same thing that you've been doing, expecting a different result. I think it's an awful idea. I don't even think the Colts explore the Derek Carr thing. I think that ship of getting a veteran quarterback has sailed. This team is not one veteran quarterback away from a championship. And in my eyes, a 32-year-old Derek Carr might make us roughly a playoff contender. I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I don't think he's a bad guy. But he's not what we need. What you're doing by signing Derek Carr or trading for Derek Carr would be kicking the can down the road. The can being, let's bite the bullet, spend a first-round draft pick, take the risk on a young quarterback and see if the guy develops. And honestly, if we do get a young quarterback here in Indianapolis next season, the situation that the guy is walking into is not what like a Peyton Manning walked into or a Andrew Luck especially walked into. Remember, Luck walked in and the team was awful. This team has pieces. You have Jonathan Taylor. You have Quentin Nelson up front. You've got Michael Pittman, Alec Pierce, and Jelani Woods who are developing. Defense is good. The defense is set. So while this team is not a Super Bowl caliber team, you're not putting the quarterback in a position where he has to do everything. If you get a rookie quarterback and he's not just a total multi-negative and he's just halfway, I think he has a chance to develop and succeed, assuming you get the head coach position right. So for me, pursuing Derek Carr, you're just kicking the can down the road. I couldn't believe I had to address this, but I wanted to hop on and say, hey, this is insanity. This is craziness. Derek Carr, stay away. I am done with veteran quarterbacks. And I think if we actually made a move for Carr, I think the pitchforks and the mops or whatever else are all going to go outside Lucas Oil Stadium, and the fans are going to go crazy, and Irsay is going to have to hand out $100 bills again to make them happy. But outside of that, one thing I want to do is spotlight one fan comment, because every time we release a show, we want to look back at the comments on old shows. I love reading them. It's fun, whether they give one word, they give a reaction to the show, or whatever it is. I love seeing from the fans. So we like to spotlight that and then talk about it. And Jack, he puts down, with the draft class not having a standout number one quarterback, obviously Bryce Young probably going to go to Houston. The Colts are not, they're not possessing the first pick in the draft. Combined with Baker Mayfield's success in LA, should the Colts try Baker? You mentioned the Lions offensive coordinator, and Goff was considered kind of dead in the water until his rejuvenation this season. Which is a product of coaching and talent around him. Could Mayfield be the guy with the Colts? And to his point, I think that, like I was saying earlier, the Colts aren't a bad team to go to, and it's kind of hard to say who our coach is going to be, but you would like to think we're going to kind of get a creative, offensive-minded guy. I do think that the Mayfield ship is kind of sailed. I think there was some interest. He wanted to go to the Colts this past season, and we didn't like his attitude. Indianapolis is big on culture, and I know he's had a few games good in LA. I don't think that's going to happen. But it is an interesting thought that, maybe finding a guy like a Jordan Love or something who, yeah, he's played a few seasons, but he's not totally worn out. He doesn't have a lot of baggage. I would like the Jordan Love thing a lot more than I would like the Baker Mayfield, but it is an interesting thought, and I don't think, like he says, like Jack said, I don't think the Colts are an awful destination for a quarterback, especially if we get a kind of a good offensive-minded head coach. Guys, let me know again what you think in the comments. I appreciate you watching so much. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment, guys. Thanks for watching the Common Colt Podcast.